So now Trump has been convicted on 34 counts of the wrongdoings that he did with regards to Stormy Daniels and the payoffs and everything with Michael Cohen, etc. Now, the big question is, how is this going to actually affect the upcoming election and the massive significance that there is with now a former president having been convicted of a crime? And the real oddity of this, in some states, he cannot vote for president because that's the law. A convicted felon cannot vote for president, but can run for president. Exactly how does that make any sense? So he cannot legally own a gun in the state of New York. I believe it's the state of New York and probably several other states as well. But he could be the commander-in-chief of the U.S. military. So he can't personally own a gun, but he can command the largest, most powerful gun in the entire country. Sorry, it's just mind-blowing to me that this is a real thing and that this is a real gap in the logic of the entire system. Now, in terms of the voting, is his conviction going to be significant? I frankly don't think so. Anybody who is pro-Trump at this point is going to be a die-hard Trump supporter, and nothing is going to change that. His original statement many years ago, he could shoot somebody in broad daylight in the middle of New York, and people would continue to support him. Those who support him are going to do this anyway. Those who don't support him, this wouldn't change their position at all. So I don't think it actually really means anything in this particular context, that being who's going to vote for him, who's not. Now, there have been some people who have said, if he's convicted, then there's no way I'll vote for him. I don't think those numbers are significant in any way, shape, or form. I think maybe there's going to be some people, but I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. So I don't think this is really going to hurt him that much. Those who support him are fanatically devoted to him. Those who are not wouldn't vote for him anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now, it's pretty clear that he very much did commit these crimes, and that's why he was convicted of it. No matter how much he tries to claim that this was some kind of conspiracy against him, he did those things. He really did. He is a criminal. What president is not a criminal? What president ever didn't commit numerous crimes? Assassinating Qasem Soleimani was a crime. One that he'll never actually pay for because he did it in the name of the U.S. empire, which is why the empire has nothing to say about it and wants to very quickly forget that it ever happened. But that's the thing. His complaint, and the complaint of a lot of his followers, is that, well, other people have done way worse things and why aren't they in prison? And that's true. There's never been a U.S. president that was not guilty of some crime against humanity. I mean, like literally a crime against humanity in one shape or form or another. There is no exception. Every single one of them has committed some crime against humanity of which they were never held accountable for. One of the more notable, because it's the most recent, would be George Bush. 2 illegal wars, probably more than that. Obama got a Nobel Peace Prize and he fought, 7 wars? Most of them not even officially declared. Well, I guess you don't have to go to Congress for approval or go to the UN Security Council for approval if you just don't actually acknowledge that it's a war, even though it is. How many U.S. civilians were murdered by U.S. drone strikes overseas that never received a trial, which you are obligated to have? There is so many crimes committed by so many U.S. presidents just in the past 2 decades. Go back to even Clinton and the whole situation with Kosovo, Herzegovina, that whole friggin' mess of a situation there and the crimes the U.S. government is guilty of there that were never held accountable. And the fact that everybody focuses on the fact that he lied in Congress about having sexual relations with that woman, that's the least that he did. That's like the least significant thing he ever did. Those crimes with Bosnia, Herzegovina, and Kosovo and all of that are astronomically worse than anything that ever went on between him and Monica Lewinsky. Sure, he did break the law by lying to Congress. But that's nothing compared to what he's actually guilty of, which the system approves of and political opposition supports, which is why we never hear anything about it. I mean, okay, look at Desert Storm. Desert Storm was based on a lie. Incubator babies that never existed. And that justified going in. U.S. sanctions murdered 500,000 children in Iraq during the 90s. No one says anything about that. I mean, it's only 500,000 children, right? So while yes, Trump is guilty of the things that he's been accused of, he did do it. And there are everyone in this realm guilty of more than what he did. But that doesn't make Trump innocent. This shouldn't be they didn't get convicted, so he shouldn't get convicted either. No, they should all be convicted for what they've done because they are all criminals who are guilty of some of the worst crimes against humanity. And no amount of appealing to Trump being a difference is going to change that. He's not part of some kind of resistance against the political establishment. He's not a resistor. He's just incompetent at what he did. The system doesn't want to get rid of him because he's some kind of a threat. Because he's frankly incompetent at his job. And any threat that he may or may not pose to the political establishment is essentially meaningless. Because if he was any real threat, the CIA would just kill him. And it would be incredibly easy to kill him. The CIA has a million ways to kill you. Okay, inject him with this thing. Oh, he had a heart attack. What do you mean he had a heart attack? He's old, so that happens. It's not a conspiracy. This is the part that never ceases to amaze me. One of the biggest points Marx ever made was that you have to overthrow the system. And if you're going to claim to be a Marxist, you have to understand that. If you're a liberal or you're a conservative, this doesn't apply to you. But if you're going to claim to be a Marxist and stand there and think that voting for Bernie Sanders is going to change anything, you literally don't understand what you're talking about. If you think voting for the Democratic Socialists of America, which are laughably incompetent, let alone a complete oxymoron. Not the name oxymoron. It's not democratic socialism being an oxymoron, but saying that they're going to run in elections and change things and change anything is laughable. Thinking that you're going to vote for Trump and change anything is also laughable. He changed absolutely nothing. Biden has deported more migrants or immigrants than Trump has. So, I mean, if you're that deport everybody who isn't white kind of crowd, then you would like Biden more than you like Trump, if you had any honesty. The fact that, what is it, like almost, what's it been, like 275 some odd years that America's existed? And people still aren't getting it at this point? That you're not supposed to be able to change it. You're not supposed to be able to do anything of any significance. And you still don't get it. If you've even paid attention in the last 20 years and you still don't get it, that it's not a democracy and that somehow the rich always end up on top, you're basically not going to get it. You're literally just afraid of the alternative. I mean, first world people are not going to revolt. At least not in a Marxist sense, they're going to revolt. America will fall to a race war before they fall to a Marxist revolution. And that's blatantly true. And I don't think there's anybody with a shred of honesty that would deny that. But it's going to be very interesting to actually see Trump, if he gets convicted next month on July 11th. I think that's when the sentencing is. If he does get convicted and goes to jail, it would be very interesting to see him run for president from prison. Personally, I don't think he's going to get sentenced to prison. I think he's basically going to get the lightest possible sentence that he could get in order to not appear to be interfering with the political system, even though Trump literally did. And he's guilty numerous times of interfering with himself. I think the system is basically going to let him almost walk with the minimal amount of punishment and run and try to see if he can lose the election in a democratic fashion. If he loses it, then they can finally put it to rest. Goodbye, Trump. Go away. You're finished. You've lost. If he does win, then they can turn around and say, you're going to do things right this time, or you're going to mysteriously turn up dead. Because I think that's exactly what the system is going to do. So do I think that this is really going to affect the election anyway? Not in terms of support. Those who've already decided they're going to support him, they're already going to do it no matter what. Those who aren't going to support him aren't going to support him no matter what. And in the end, regardless of whether Biden or Trump wins, the ruling class still wins. So what does it matter? It's completely irrelevant. But that's the point that people just don't want to accept. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.